If we go further in time, like going after this idea of this that this rite, and I get the vibe that it was very well performed, because he was having the same outcome, or we have a protocol to do it and all of that. But I guess this continues in time, and we have this, all of these ideas, like it probably is modern ideas, like these entities you encounter in the other side, and you have, you know, it's like a kind of fascination to know about who are these guys, man? Who are these? Is the archons? Is the freaking? You know what I mean?
That's a perfect word you just said, fascination, from the Latin fascinum, which is that daimon of the phallus, the erect phallus that you point in somebody's face, that priapeic image. Again, from nature, right? This is a natural thing. You don't have to be certain race or ethnicity.
Please elaborate.
Yeah, right. That's the power that you're calling on. That priapeic magic, right? There's a reason that the rite is sexual. There's a reason that it has to do with drugs. There's a reason that the magic is centered in this erection. And it's not what you think. Is that it's not? Remember, this is designed by women, not men. And in the temple is always this phallus. That phallus becomes that potent wand that's part of the Magus's rite. Yeah, where were we going? There was something beautiful I just missed there.
I'm sorry. I also was going like just going with the entities, you know, because everybody's like fascination. I just said fascination, and yeah, we went into some other place, but you have to understand, Ammon. I mean, just a small thing, like the whole thing about entities is like what you know, we are all about fascinated about it. Like, is this other place, and there's entities, archons, like, because it's different if you say you go to the sea and you can feel something in the ocean, and you will feel that you have some kind of thing, you know. But it's different if you think you're going to talk with a woman or the dude that's going to appear. So obviously, you know, you know what I mean? Sounds like very stupid when I say it. But you know what I mean?
Right. A good question that you're bringing up is why are these images so frightening? Right. Well, remember, these are the people who wear the aegis, and the aegis is the head of that decapitated virgin that is supposed to turn you to stone. Right. Think of those images. Those are all the images that we use when we enter the invisible. Right. Those are the logoi. Those are the reasoned proportions of the universe. And if I understood music better, that would make sense to me musically, but I don't understand it. And so this is the kind of, this is the kind of reasoning. Now, those invisible entities, yes, you should be able to manipulate those. Right? That's what they do. That's what the whole rites are for. If you didn't, you wouldn't need to be trained. So the question is, there's a lot of stuff in there about the sexual magic. There's a reason the phallus is there in the middle of the temple. There's a reason that people might say sexual energy, that John Chrysostomus calls satanic energy or Saturnian energy. That can be used. So you should be able, by the powers of manipulation right? You should be able to stand in front of her and to induce the song in her. A true magus is dangerous because he can come into the presence of her and she can spontaneously reach the height of the orgiastic rite. It's a danger, right? It's what is it? It's divine power. It's what the sons of God must keep from the daughters of men, or you end up getting giants. So it's gorgeous magic. It's very nice magic, and it boggles my mind, Bruno. When people look at it, they think all of this stuff is not interrelated, but it is. Their spirituality, their medicine, their physicality, their music. Imagine one more time. I'm going to say there is a type of music that is sexual intercourse. You didn't realize that when you're having intercourse, that it is a musical act. So that's, it's a different way of thinking about the world. And it makes sense that there are people like Circe who develop things, develop drugs, and use them on people in order to gain a certain vision of the world.
So when we go further and we go to times of Christianity, not Christianity even before, when the Christian sects are operating, and we want to keep following the aoratos in times of Christian ideas. This continue to happen? What is the relationship with the Christian sect or sects with these aoratos? Are they engaging with it? Is part of their ideas, religion?
Yeah, that's a brilliant question. And I can only tell you what I've seen that has the same language of the ancient mystery. And that's a couple of examples. One is during Vlad the Impaler's rule, there is a prince who is following him and writing Orphic poetry. It's one example that uses ritual and ritual terminology through the Latin. So, was Marulus, this guy's name is Marulus, was he aware of the rite? He wrote about it. So, I think it's only, given that he at least had knowledge of what they did in antiquity, if it didn't apply to what he was actually practicing. But the Crusaders, with the Templars, they were doing the same thing. The accusations against them were all the same thing. And the purple stains in their underpants, all of that, and the taint, and the licking of the taints, and the licking of the penis head, all of that, passing the purple between the Templars, raising up the head of Baphomet, which Medea is the Etruscan title for Medea, right? So that baptism of the Medea, of the Medewanasa, is in the very name of the fucking head that they were carrying around that they said they dug out of the Temple of Jerusalem. So, are they doing things that are mimicking the rites? Yeah, they are. The other one is witches. You can read in the witch trials and you can see the pagan mystery elements in the witch trials. And strangely enough, the sexual element remains strong. In addition to the drugs, the sex and drug connection is strong, so that you see these quote unquote witches who are performing these quote unquote satanic acts that are enabling them to do things like go to the witches' banquet. And if you've never been to the witches' banquet, it's the same place that Arthur was taken when he was injured in battle, some say killed, and then resurrected by the local Morgan, the local witch that was the adjunct of Satan himself. So the rite is directly reflected in the language once again. So those are three examples. Yeah.
Amazing examples. And so to like just to give a bit of context, or not a context, but just a question to elaborate, or not to elaborate also, like just to make this idea together. Can you just give us an idea of this transition from these ideas that we were talking about before and this new world that we're talking about now? Like, there is something that happened in between, I guess. Like, it was this monotheistic idea that changed everything. So I'm not asking you to give us a whole lecture about the transition, but when we talk about the aoratos of these ideas, the ideas of the connection with initiation rites, everything that we are talking, once the world kind of, or not the world, let's say the ideas were prohibited, kind of thing, like when the empire becomes Christian, and because I guess that what we are talking about now is after, when the Roman Empire becomes Christian, I guess, like all of these examples you just gave us. So can you just elaborate, to have an idea of this transition, how it happened, what, how this whole ideas of initiation, this is your society, and then you have this, okay, not anymore, now we have just one God. What happened with all of these ideas of initiation and connection with the aoratos to keep going
Yeah.
on?
You can't have the connection with the invisible if you can't go through Aphrodite. The saying that the Greek speaking world had was Dionysus always leads to Aphrodite. So that made Dewanasa, that Bronze Age queen overseer, is present like a pattern in nature. She will always become re-inflamed and enter into the invisible. You will always have Bacchic uprisings. Monism, particularly Christianity, stifled that on the drug front, on the ritual front, even on the music front. We can see in John Goldenmouth, Chrysostomus, right? We can see the stifling of that particular type of music that induces the vision. So you and I today are living in a world where all the basic elements of enabling you to use your visionary natural abilities, right? Because they're initiating everybody. Right? It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter they don't have an IQ test when you walk in the door, right? They don't have any sort of, test to see how many thetans you got or bullshit like that, right? No, it's something sewn into the nature of our own existence that this eidolon, this image can be reignited, can reassert itself. And
at some point, this changed to what?
Yeah. What do you get? You get a loss of the protection of the virgin. You get a loss of democracy right away. when you see, like Libanius talks about, roving bands of Christian monks who will enter into a state and will see the people in the estate burning incense, in front of images of divinities, right? And will then declare that the estate belongs to the church rightfully and no longer to the people who've lived there for centuries. So it's a process. You say, how did it happen? It's a process of appropriation and genocide. You have to genocide the culture that's there. And that pagan culture recognizes nature. So you've got to have apostles who are walking around saying, you must ignore nature. It's not important what you can reason or what you can see. It's important what you believe. Faith is a monist product. You don't have faith as a follower of Dionysus, as a Maenad, right? Doing your Maenad thing with all your Maenad women, following your rites, trying to stay within the law. You are not bound by anything but the cult divinity. And is that what enabled them to go the extra mile? Because you and I don't go to communion and have sex. We don't go to communion. It's funny, the early Christians did, and nobody portrays this. Nobody portrays early Christian rites,
Yeah,
which involved.
I'm sorry, but can we just go a bit on it, like these early Christian ideas? Because I guess they was not like just from like one year to another, it became monism in time. So first Christian ideas or whatever, probably they were doing something very similar, like the mysteries and doing it in their own I don't know, as they were doing it, I guess. You know what I mean?
We take communion, we turn the lights off, we take our clothes off, and we enter into the orgiastic rite. Now, if I happen to have sex with a sister or a cousin, that's all covered. It's sanctified within the rite, the Christian rite itself. This is what the Romans were arresting people for, because incest to them was off the table. That was definitely illegal. They weren't going to justify it. They didn't care what you were worshiping. But if you're going to enter an orgy with your children, you're not doing it right. It's a violation, right?
Mm-hmm. So it was not just one idea of Christians.
No,
it was a bunch of okay.
Yeah, and we know that. We know that, Bruno, because we have sources that tell us about all the different sects of Christianity ad nauseum. And you'd be surprised at what high percentage of these cults or sects, cults, that they're still retaining an element of the sexual practices. It's so widespread that you have early Christian authors saying, get all of the botani, all of the plants, take them out of the communion. So, anywho, we talked about that a little bit, but remember, you were asking about these entities, these invisible entities. There's an entire physics to determining what those entities are. I mean, you talk about humans and aliens, and you talk about this type of alien, this lizard person, right? That is infantile in comparison to the science of the invisible world with all of its entities, right? And people think, oh, you're talking Harry Potter and, oh, God, these big angels with wings. No, you're talking about the forces around you right now sitting there that can influence and will influence you. This is why a magus can put an image in your brain. Why from a distance? You can be sitting, this is the idea. And if you want to get into the Mormolocaean, that's really where the entity from which this
Well,
power
Ammon,
comes.
Ammon, please. The other day I was trying to find the word because I was translating a conversation we had, and you talked about her, and it's impossible to find the word. So I just put ancient Greek or whatever. I don't remember,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a her, isn't it?
Yes. And remember, they're interacting with a language that is magical, that is based in Greek. But the pronunciation of it, the creation of its song, causes an effect on the invisible forces around you. So that's why Jesus can walk around and say, in the name of so and so, I command this and that. He's manipulating the same forces. But one of these forces that Mormolucan is combined with a tradition of entering into that dream zone of the pubescent child. So imagine that there is an entity in the world whose satanic energy, whose Saturnian energy radiates from the pubertal development itself. That energy can be manipulated and expressed so that you suddenly are surrounded by those who would vampirically feed off of that very same energy. Right? You can go to bed tonight, lay down in bed, and I can send that Mormolucan, that devouring, child devouring source, right? Because that's what happens in that development of that Addis, right, to the Adonis. There is a loss. And that Mormolucan is the physical, invisible, cosmic force that I, as a magus, can manipulate. Medea's killing from a distance was only a killing from a distance because it involved the manipulation of those forces, right? Otherwise, it's impossible. The person's way over there in a different country, right? How can I do this? It's a physics that you don't need to calculate distance for. And I'm telling you, when you are able to induce a consistent vision, when you are able to create a situation where an eidolon, a statue, can speak to a crowd, a diverse crowd, and that crowd can record the same spoken vocalizations. When you're able to do that, you're working with, you're manipulating something there on a grand level. And it wasn't just the Greek mysteries that were able to do this. The Egyptian mystery claimed the same power, and especially the power of what they called motivation. Right? How do you make that? You walk into a creepy, dark temple, right? You're standing there, and here's the statue of the lion headed goddess. You and I look at that as tourists, we don't get it. But if you were Christed and interacting with the invisible in spirit form, that image takes on a power that, yeah, okay, it could change a life. It could change the way you look at the world. So I think it's frightening, and it's depicted that way as, for a reason. All of these Medusae, all of these these monster faces, that Haka, that those gorgeous, gorgeous Maori bring to the world, that Haka is the same thing. It's that demon, invisible force. If I could send a Haka to someone who's sleeping, rah, and get them, right, and pull them out of, you've been there, you've been in that dream, and you've been pulled out by these are forces that you can actively manipulate so that you can cause, this is the cool one, you can cause people to say things, right, without prompting them. You can introduce logoi, you can introduce sentiments into their thumos. You can introduce an idea without saying it, without repeating it, I can just do it from a distance. Why would I even want to do that kind of thing? I suppose just to see what the connections are in the universe. But I'm going to practice it by taking my cousin who really is in love with that girl, and I'm going to implant in her mind love for him back. Right? You think, well, this is just for romantic stories. No, the entire story, the narrative of Medea, right, is that she was one of those abducted priestesses who had to be there for the stupid Greek kid to be able to finish his fucking quest. She had to basically do it for him, right? Don't think that they weren't using the image of that Cora, that priestess who is invisible, that muse is invisible around you. You see, it's just a part of nature.